What is up, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, we're going to be talking about two long-term Patriots, definitely Hall of Famers in their categories, and are they going to be retiring this offseason? Now, of course, by now, I'm sure all of you know the news. It occurred a while ago, so it isn't anything super new that Patriots special teamer Mathew Slater and Patriots safety in Devin McCourty both are considering retirement this offseason. Both are set to become free agents in the next couple of months when free agency does begin. So with that statement being said, the big thing to note here is that if one of them or both of them decide to retire, this would not free any cap space up for the Patriots while they sit at about $49 million to enter free agency. So for anybody wondering, okay, would this give them any extra leverage cap-wise? No, because they're set to be free agents, the Patriots would not gain or lose anything if they decide to retire. Now, the big thing for both of these players actually comes down to family. Both even said it, especially within Mathew Slater. Both were going to sit down both of their families and kind of just tell them where they're at with football, where they're going to be going moving forward, how their family feels, and then going from there with what their future holds. Both, of course, are also very, very up there in age. Mathew Slater is 34 years old, and Devin McCourty is 32 years old. So it makes sense that both are considering retirement. Now, even if both of them don't retire this season, which I'll get to my thoughts on that in a little bit later in this video, obviously, the clock is ticking down for both of these players, and once a player starts considering retirement, obviously, it should become a need for the head coach, the guys in the front office to start to address that need before the players decide to just drop and retire. Both players are coming off of fantastic seasons. Both of them are coming off of one of the best seasons that they've ever played in the NFL. Of course, Mathew Slater actually got picked to yet again go to the Pro Bowl, and Devin McCourty sadly got snubbed from the Pro Bowl. I think that we can all agree that Devin McCourty should have made the Pro Bowl over a guy like Earl Thomas, but in the end, this just shows that the Pro Bowl comes down to fan vote rather than talent. McCourty finished this season with a total of 5 interceptions, which actually is tied for the second most of his entire career. The best came in his rookie season where he had 7, and then in 2012, he also had 5 interceptions. McCourty is such a valuable part to the Patriots. And notice there how I didn't say he's a vital part to the Patriots locker room. I didn't say he's a vital part to the Patriots defense. Because Devin McCourty is vital to every single aspect that the Patriots have. He's important in defending the pass, stopping the run game. He's a captain to the Patriots defense, not to mention the fact that he's a leader on and off the field. Every single week when the defensive backs hover around Devin McCourty for pregame rituals, Devin McCourty is always the one going at it with the pep talk. So if he does retire and the Patriots do have to look for his replacement, the sad thing to say is that chances are they're not going to be able to replace the person Devin McCourty was. Now, if they're lucky, they'll be able to replace the player that he was. But finding a guy who has such an impact on and off the field and is such a leader for teams, that's an aspect that makes such a difference in games, in players' minds, and sadly, that's something that you can't just find off the streets. McCourty was actually also considering retirement last offseason, so if it feels like this video is like deja vu for some reason, that's probably because on my channel, around this time last year, we talked about the same thing. Now, of course, Devin McCourty did decide to come back, but a year later, of course, which isn't a surprise to me that we're sitting at the same position a year later. Then for Mathew Slater, which is the Patriots' best and number 1 special teamer. I mean, he's an 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time All-Pro. You won't be able to replace Mathew Slater. And just like Devin McCourty, Mathew Slater is another one of the guys that you can't be like, he's good for special teams. he's good for off-the-field situations also. Mathew Slater is such a vital piece to the Patriots' special teams, to their team, to their locker room, every single week. Sadly, you only see this when the Patriots win the games, but who's the one to give the Patriots those pep talks? Who is the one in that locker room when all the Patriots huddle up, put their hands in the middle, and scream, "Aw, yeah," after a win? It's Mathew Slater. Not enough people give credit to these off-the-field or locker room guys because there's such a dynamic role and there's such a reason that these players go in with a certain mindset that either makes them play really well or doesn't make them play as well. We've seen what it was like when the Patriots didn't have all these key necessary locker room guys and how the Patriots didn't play like the Patriots, how the locker room was not the same. It wasn't the Patriots way, and it came out after the season that there were some issues. It will definitely 120% be a lot more harder for the Patriots to replace a guy like Mathew Slater than it would for the Patriots to replace a guy like Devin McCourty. Now, I'm not trying to say that Devin McCourty is going to be easy to replace if he decides to retire too, but looking at the history and the historicalness of Mathew Slater, these guys really are once in a lifetime, especially his personality. So now it comes down to, what do I think both players are going to do? I personally think that both players are going to come back. I don't think both players are done. I still think they have a lot in them now. For how many more years? That's another discussion. Without a doubt, their time in the NFL is coming to an end, but if we are talking about next season, it would surprise me to see both Devin McCourty and Mathew Slater not in a Patriots uniform. So these are going to be two guys that are going to be must-signs for the Patriots, and what the Patriots have to do in case, let's say I'm wrong about Mathew Slater, is they have to get Justin Bethel signed under contract, because although he's not Mathew Slater, he will definitely be the best guy to replace him and take over that role. Now, even if Mathew Slater doesn't retire, I would still say that he's a must-sign, but if he does decide to retire, then it becomes an even more important signing for the Patriots this offseason. Also, if I'm the Patriots, this offseason, I'm starting to look at some younger guys to possibly start bringing in post the Devin McCourty and Mathew Slater era, because clearly they're already considering retirement. This is year one for Mathew Slater considering retirement, and this is the second consecutive season where Devin McCourty is considering retirement. So obviously this is a seasonal thing for them, how they're feeling each season. They're kind of evaluating themselves at the end, which clearly means that the time is coming down again, especially looking at their age. They only have so much more time. So while the Patriots do have them, I would say get some guys under the wraps so that you're not panicking last second to replace them. But that's it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Mathew Slater and Devin McCourty considering retirement? Do you think they'll retire? Do you not think they'll retire? Let me know in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe if you have not already, because we will be posting a lot more videos coming up. But other than that, I'll catch you guys in my next video.